David Brewster here with an episode of Breaking Chords, and this is extended arpeggios. And don't get this confused with long form arpeggios, which I did make an episode devoted to that. And I guess really what I mean by extended arpeggios is we're going to move beyond just basic triad arpeggios and also seventh arpeggios. So we're going to definitely target some extensions, ninths and 11ths and 13ths and things like that. I guess really the first step here is just locate a chord that you really like and then basically translate that into an arpeggio. And we're going to steer clear of basic triads and seventh arpeggios, and we're going to try to find some modern and kind of unusual sounds. So I've already selected this shape, so that's going to be a C minor 9. And I really like the sound of that chord. It's very unsettling and moody. It's beautiful. Now you could run that, right across the strings like an arpeggio. But that's not really what I'm talking about, for this concept. Now that would function as a C minor 9 arpeggio, but that's not quite what we're talking about here, or what I'm going to target. So we're going to change the way we've kind of constructed, that chord and that arpeggio. So instead of just locking in to a position like this, let's grab that minor third with a slide right here. So think of that almost like an add 9 or a sus2. And then the last two notes we can also grab with a slide right here, the B flat and C. And just adding those two little slides, creates a slightly different sound. And it doesn't sound, so much like a chord. Now it sounds more melodic, like music. So right there we just found kind of a different way of targeting, that chord or that arpeggio. Now another thing we can look at here, so right there if we slide into that minor third, basically that E flat, right there if we think of an E flat major 7, that's going to give us all the extensions for this C minor 9. There's our minor third, there's the 5th, there's the flat 7, and then also the D on top is the 9th. So that's everything, in C minor 9 except for C, basically. But it's kind of cool, we can slide into that like that. We can kind of create some licks, based around that chord shape. So there's the first idea. So now that we've uncovered this E flat major 7 arpeggio, kind of hiding at the top of that C minor 9 arpeggio, there's a ton of licks and phrases you can make, and create using those two worlds and just kind of stir them together. So this idea, I'm going to also incorporate an F, so just a passing tone, kind of mixed in there. And there I'm just finding kind of a crafty way to make my way toward the end and target that C note. So those kind of licks and phrases are really cool, and they catch your ear because they sound very unusual and different. It doesn't sound like just a minor, arpeggio straight up and down. There's some interesting extensions and notes, kind of hiding right in the middle of that phrase. So there's a ton of licks and melodies and phrases you can make just by stirring these worlds and arpeggios together. Here's a basic idea. We're just basically kind of shifting into that E flat and then ending on C there. So there's a ton of things you can create, by thinking this way and kind of, shifting and sliding, between the notes. You can incorporate some passing tones and just, really change things up. Speaking of mixing things up, now let's add the 11th to the mix. So we're going to keep the 9th, but we're also going to incorporate, basically this F note. And we can do something like that. there's our minor 9. Then we're grabbing the 11th right there. There you can see there's another shape that we've kind of introduced. So a lot of people are familiar, with this major arpeggio, right? There's a ton of things, you can hear with that arpeggio. But most people think of that as major, and we're kind of sticking that in this minor world, right? We can kind of recycle, one of the minor 9th licks, and we can incorporate, that 11th in the picture too. And there I'm basically, just outlining the same thing. And then I'm coming down, grabbing E flat. And I'm really just kind of encircling the root, that C. And I really like licks and phrases like that. They're attention-getting, they're melodic, and they sound very unusual and interesting. And here's another melodic phrase, based around this minor 11th arpeggio. And there I'm really just kind of walking down and starting to incorporate, scale tones or passing tones to the arpeggio. Once you start adding, 9ths and 11ths and 13ths to the picture, then, the passing tones are kind of minimized because you're just basically incorporating the rest of the scale, from this minor chord to a minor 9, kind of adding the 11th in there too, and just kind of filling out the sound of this arpeggio. So you can see there, basically grabbing notes from C minor. The next thing I would recommend, instead of just working on a static chord, just locking into one tonality, find a chord progression now, and kind of outline the progression using arpeggios like this. So the progression I've selected here, just to kind of keep us locked in to C minor, we're going to do a 1, 6, 4, 5 in C minor. So we're going to do C minor, A flat major, F minor, and then G major. And that's going to bring out kind of a harmonic minor, tonality. So it's not just a straight C minor thing. Some harmonic minor, flavor. So there's a ton of different ways you could play, those arpeggios. We could do it in open position, in this area. But let's keep things, kind of where we were, and then we'll just kind of find our way from there. So one thing that's really important, as far as understanding the fretboard and locating, these different fingerings and shapes for chords or arpeggios, is realize, let's say if we're right here in the 8th position, we can target and hit all those chords or arpeggios, and we don't have to leave, this general area. They all live right there, right? There's C minor, and there was A flat major, there's F minor, and then G major. And obviously, those are very useful, arpeggio shapes. But let's see what happens if we do this extended approach with that. So we could keep that melodic phrase that we just found for C minor or C minor 11. So we're going to keep that C minor 11 shape, and then we're going to find a way to kind of move to A flat major. So we're going to kind of lock into that same idea, but now we're going to change it to major like this. You can see right there I'm just walking down the scale. Right? So we've got the C minor 11. You could basically think of that as like just A flat, add 9. F minor. We're going to move all the way down here. And that would basically be kind of F minor 11. And then we're going to move to G, or G13 technically. And to kind of bring into that harmonic minor sound, this is a really good extended arpeggio workout, and it sounds like this. As you can see, there's a lot of things you can do with this idea, and you can kind of change the way you think of using arpeggios, because a lot of players out there, they just think of them as, you know, mutant bar chords or, you know, caged chords. And, you know, whether you're, you know, looking at like kind of a D shape or A or C or, you know, E or whatever, you know, arpeggio or chord fingering you're using, there's always a way to kind of slip and slide and shift, you know, away from just that, you know, locked position kind of playing. And I know for me, for a long time, I was kind of locked into, you know, single position, you know, just kind of static arpeggios like this. And I didn't really understand how you could kind of move and shift and weave, you know, away from that. So for a long time in my mind, I just thought of arpeggios like chords, you know, and then I would just think of the notes, you know, spelled separately. But then as I got into long form arpeggios and started trying to find, you know, arpeggios with extensions, and then I noticed, oh wow, there's all these different ways, you know, you can get away from this, you know, and start kind of moving around like that. All right, that's going to wrap this brief look at extended arpeggios, and I definitely have more ideas based around this concept and these sounds. So leave some feedback and comments, and let me know if you got anything from this lesson. Please subscribe to Late Night Lessons, and I'll be back before you know it. Thank you.